Yaladim. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We are going to be making Passover granola together. So during Passover, we can't eat all the things that we're used to. So in my family, we try to find some substitutions for the things that we like. And so this recipe for Passover granola can be eaten in a yogurt parfait or with milk, or how we like to eat granola, straight out of the box. So what you'll need is some matzah farfel. If you don't have matzah farfel, you can also break up about 4 boards of matzah into little pieces. You're also going to need some oil, some cinnamon, and some honey. There are optional ingredients that you can include after you bake the granola, and our favorites are raisins, pecans. You can use any kind of nut if you can have nuts in your food, and we love chocolate chips, thus making it not as healthy as it was when we first started, but it's delicious. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is measure out 4 cups of matzah farfel. It's hard for me to get my measuring cup in the canister, so I pour the farfel into a big bowl, and then I just measure out my 4 cups. And you don't have to worry about being so exact with this recipe. If you have a little bit more or you have a little bit less of the matzah farfel, that is a-okay. So now we have our 4 cups of matzah farfel. Move that out of the way. And then we're going to add our wet ingredients. So you notice that when I was measuring the matzah farfel, I used this kind of measuring cup. And these kind of measuring cups are used most often for dry ingredients like farfel, or when it's not Passover flour. When we use the wet ingredients like oil or honey, try to use a measuring cup like this. And again, it's a very forgiving recipe, so if you don't have a measuring cup like this, it's okay to use a measuring cup like this. Okay, so here's a pro tip. First put the oil in the measuring cup. Don't listen to my first pro tip. So first put the oil in the measuring cup. You're going to do 1/3 of a cup of oil. And then put your honey in. The reason you put the oil in first before the honey is that it'll just make it so much easier when pouring out the honey later. It'll pour out more smoothly. And then you want to do 1/3 of a cup of honey. Okay, there we go with that. And then you just pour that over your matzah farfel. See how easily the honey poured out? Look at that, almost as clean as a whistle. Okay. And then our last ingredient before we put it in the oven is cinnamon. Now I tend not to measure my cinnamon because I like a lot of cinnamon, but the recipe calls for a teaspoon. So if you have a teaspoon, just measure out a teaspoon of cinnamon and pour it in, but I like a lot. And cinnamon is good for you, so. Okay, now comes the part where you need your muscles. We are going to mix the farfel and the cinnamon and the honey and the oil together. And you want to really mix this well so that all of the matzah farfel pieces are coated with the wet mixture. So this might take you a couple of minutes. If you want to really get a workout, switch arms. Then you can work both of your muscles. I'm not as good with my right hand. I'm just going to go back to my left hand and really, really mix it up. See how the pieces are coated? with all the cinnamon. It smells really good too. Okay, so after you've mixed it up really well, you take a pan, just a regular baking pan, and you line it with either parchment or tin foil, just so it doesn't stick to the pan and easier to clean up at the end. And you always want to make sure that you clean up whatever you use. Don't leave a mess in the kitchen for the next person to clean up. Okay, so then we're going to pour it onto the pan. And you just spread it around with your spoon. Hopefully, I didn't show it on camera, but hopefully you all washed your hands before you started cooking. Anytime you make food or eat food, you want to make sure that you're doing that with clean hands. So you can also, if you'd rather, you can spread the matzah farfel out with your hands to make a nice flat layer. And then you're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for a half hour. And I'll see you back here when it's done. Shalom Yeladim, so welcome back. Our granola has come out of the oven and it's been cooled for a little while now. So you want to remember anytime that you're using the oven or the stovetop to have an adult help you. So an adult can turn on the oven for you, an adult can put the pan in, and for sure an adult should take the pan out. After it's all cooled, you put it in a bowl. You might need to mix it up a little bit in case some of the granola has stuck together. But once it's all cooled, you can add the ingredients that you like in your granola or that you would just like for your snack. So like I said, I'm going to add chocolate chips. And there's not really an exact measure for this. You can add a half a cup, you can add a cup, a handful, whatever you like. Just sprinkle those in. Some people like coconut, so that's another ingredient you can add, but I don't have that here today. My pecans, which I'm just putting in whole, but you can also chop up if you like your pecans smaller. And then the last ingredient are the raisins. And I'm just going to shake some in, and again, it's about a cup. They kind of clump together, so those have to be mixed really well. And then again, you just use your muscles and you mix it all up. And it looks and smells really good. And then if you want, you can put this with your yogurt and put a little fruit with it and make your own yogurt parfait, or just eat it straight out of the bowl. B'te'avon, good appetite, and thank you for joining me today.